Hello pretty angels, welcome back to another video. Today we've got a very exciting video. Today is how I bought my first house at 19. Disclaimer out there, this isn't me bragging, this isn't anything to do with me like, oh, I bought my first house at 19, It's not. It's literally just so you guys can hear from someone your own age, or maybe someone with different wording about how to buy your own house, because I know you think of buying your own house and you think that is near enough impossible. It's really not. And I think once you know the facts and figures and how to go about it and how much you need to be saving, how much you need to be working, like all that kind of stuff, it's a real possible goal, and it's a goal that will set you up for life. So I'm going to tell you how I did it, I'm going to tell you how you can do it, and let's get you that house, baby girl. So I'm going to be going over the process of buying a house. I'm going to be going over what I paid for my first house. I'm going to be going over how long it took. Everything you need to know should be in this video. If it's not in this video, then leave a comment down below and I will definitely get back to you. I'm thinking of doing a part 2 to this video as well, where I explain all the bills and added costs and stuff when you actually move into your house. So if anyone's interested in that, because it was a shock to my system, let me tell you. So I hope you love this video and I'll get straight into it. Love you so much. We're just in the first stages of trying to buy a house. What you need to be thinking about first of all, the first step to buying your first house is savings. And I know this is stuff that people get scared and people, why do I want to say shy away from? What does that come from? I just want to say shy away from. Doesn't Rihanna say that? I don't know. But people get scared of the word saving, and I feel like it's something as a generation we should be talking about, because you should be saving for your future, you shouldn't be spending all your money. That's easy for me to say. Saving is very easy. I'm going to give you some of my top tips. So a lot of you are asking, how did you save for your own house? Like, you think at the age of 18 or 16 or whatever that you think it's impossible to save for your own house. It's really, really not. I saved about, I don't actually know, on and off for about 3 years. I want to say I saved between £200 and £500 a month, which to most of you might seem a lot. Like if you're 21 or over, that could seem like a lot of money to be putting aside. But I was living at home and I was paying my mum a little bit of rent, so I had money. You know, I worked full time in a coffee shop. So you don't need a big extravagant job to make sure that you're earning enough money. I was literally I was working in a coffee shop at minimum wage, and I still managed to buy my own house. So don't think that you need like a huge job and you need to be on £40,000 a year to get your own house. You don't. You just need to be focused. So what I did, I saved between £200 and £500 every single month, and my top tip for saving would be transfer it out of your account somewhere that you can't reach. I know this scares a lot of you, and I've been telling my friends this the whole time and they still don't listen to me, but that is the only way I bought my own house, is because I could not see that money. So I'm lucky enough to have my amazing mum in my life, and she looked after my money for me. So I would transfer her £500 a month, £200 a month. If I had anything left at the end of the month, I would transfer it to her. That was just my savings account. It wasn't necessarily for a house, it was just a savings account. So when I needed a car, that money came out of that bank account, and when I needed insurance every year, that comes out of there. And I still transfer my mum money to this day, because if you can see how much is there, or you can dip into it, you will. Like, don't think you have the willpower not to dip into it. You will be dipping into it, and you may as well admit defeat straight off the bat. So you need to transfer it into somewhere that you can't reach it. So I'm very lucky to have my mum in my life, and someone who will obviously look after my money for me. But I know a lot of you don't have trust in families, or don't have trust in friends, or So I would suggest credit union. So credit union is a bank account that you transfer money into, and if you need that money back, you have to ring them, which I wouldn't in the first place. So the only reason you would need that money back necessarily, if it was an emergency, then you could get the money back. But if it was like for a pair of shoes or something, you would have to ring them and say how much money you wanted, and then you have to wait 28 days for the money to go into your account. So it's just something that will really make you think, is this worth taking money out for? So when I needed money, say I needed money like for a new pair of shoes, or I wanted to go out to town or something, I would always, I'd not be nervous asking my mum, but my mum wouldn't give me my money back for nothing. She wouldn't say, you know, well, yeah, have £100, go on a holiday, da da da. She would be like, what's your reason? Like, why do you need £100? And I'd be like, because I need a new pair of Timberlands. Actually, it makes you think, do I need to dip into my savings? Is this important? Or is getting on a property ladder much more important? And you'll find 99.9% of the time, you don't need your money back. So put your savings into a separate bank account that you don't look at, that you can't touch without some sort of steps in the way. That is my number one tip for saving. I saved from the age of 16 all the way up to 19. I saved in that time £4,000 myself, which is amazing for 3 years. And obviously, like, my car payments came out of that money and stuff like that, so it obviously went up and down the whole time. But when I went to buy my first property, I had £4,000 in there, and I was so lucky as well that my nan gifted me £5,000. Like, I was so grateful for that. So overall, you need to save. I saved, or you could say saved or whatever, but I had about £9,000. So that's not horrendously a lot. Like, you can do that. Like, you can easily do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, £9,000, you'll make double that in a year. Like, if you've saved half your wages, you can definitely do that. So it just depends how motivated you are, how much you want this, and if this is actually something you want, then you need to take it seriously. I sound like my mum. At the minute in the UK, you can correct me if I'm wrong, or in Wales anyway, they are not doing 5% deposits because of the virus and stuff like that. So I would always recommend saving enough for a 10% deposit. So my first property was a 1-bedroom flat. I think another piece of advice I would give to you when you're trying to buy your first property is, don't think you're going to be buying a 4-bedroom detached house with 3 dogs and a new build. Like, it's just not gonna happen. You need to be realistic. And I always said to myself, I'd rather live in a dumping ground now, say I've got enough money when I'm 30 or 40 to buy my own property, and I'm just gonna be starting at the bottom of the scale again because I've been renting that whole time. So I bought a 1-bedroom flat. It was in a really rough area, and I only lasted there for a year, but at least I was on the property ladder, because once you're on the property ladder, you're laughing. Like, you can move from house to house, you can just upgrade your mortgage. Like, it's so much easier to move. But that first property is where you really need to put all your effort into, and I think it's a small price to pay for such a life-changing thing, if that makes sense. So my first property that I bought was £75,000, and it was a 1-bedroom flat, and I loved it. I had so many good memories there. It was really sweet, just what I needed it for. Put down a 10% deposit, which was obviously £7,500. Obviously, I'd saved £4,000, my nan gave me £5,000, so I had a bit of money left over. Don't forget, if you're putting a £10,000 deposit down, you still have to pay solicitors' fees. So even though that was £7,500, I still had to pay solicitors' fees. Solicitors' fees can be anywhere from £1,200 to £1,500. It really depends, but I think my solicitor fees was like £1,200. So just bear that in mind when you're buying a property as well. You need to be saving for solicitors' fees. I think there's a lot of things that people don't realise in our generation. Like, you do get slapped with bills, and you need to be prepared for those. So I had saved up enough money, I had gone to view this flat, and once you go and view the flat, you then place an offer, and then it comes back whether they've accepted it. You can go lower than the offer, but most of the time they won't accept it, or you can negotiate and blah blah blah. So I went to view the flat, loved it, placed the offer, and it got accepted. So this is the exciting bit, but nothing is final. I wanted to let you know that nothing is final until completion date, and completion date is a week before you get the keys. So in between your completion date and the day you place your offer, that property is not yours. You can pull out, they can pull out. So don't get too excited until you get those keys in your hands. I can't stress this enough. Just literally look forward to it, but don't have your heart set on it, because anything can happen, and I just want to prepare you for the worst. I was really lucky, nothing bad happens. I mean, it took forever, but we'll get into that. So placed the offer on the flat, got accepted, really excited. What happens then is your solicitor, which you can get through an estate agent. Like, when you buy a property through an estate agent, they then have solicitors on hand. So you've got to pay, that's the £1,200 that you pay at the end. You're paying them to do everything for you, which you need, by the way. You obviously can't buy a house without a solicitor. So in this time, I think for my first property, for my first flat, it took me, my mum helped me a lot. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without my mum and my family, by the way. So it took me about... You need to speak to a mortgage advisor. They go through all the different banks and they find you the best mortgage. So I got a mortgage for, I think it was 68,000, because obviously I paid a bit off for the 10% deposit. I got a mortgage for £68,000. That was only £200 a month I paid to live there. Like, if you are thinking renting is better than having a mortgage, I know the initial saving up for a deposit is really, really hard. It can be really, really difficult, but it's so worth it. Like, imagine paying £200 to live somewhere and it's yours, and you know, like a rent alone could be like £600. Like, it's just, it's mind-boggling. So long story short, you need to get a mortgage whether you want to or not. So do the hard work now and your future self will your future self will praise you. Is that what I'm trying to say? I don't know what I'm trying to say. Also, another day, another bucket hat. I love bucket hats, guys. I just think it's a vibe, and they cover my forehead. Also, in this 5 months, your solicitors will find out if there's anything wrong with the property. So they'll do land searches to see if it's any flood risk area, or to see if there was mining before. So all of this stuff can come back and can cause you a problem, but I'd say most of the time it's absolutely fine. And they have to do all these checks. They send people out to the house to see if it's worth what you're paying for it, and all sorts of stuff. So this is what takes so long when you're buying a property. Finally, when it gets accepted, you get the keys exactly the week after and it's yours. The property is yours. So that is the process of buying a house. So another huge tip I have for you is going back to the very beginning, before you even move into your house and you're still saving, you need a credit score. You will not be able to buy a property if you do not have a credit score. I know that sounds really scary. A credit score isn't scary. So if you're over the age of 18, get a credit card. My credit card company, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that actually. There's loads of credit card companies, and you can also get one with your bank. And basically what I suggest you do is get a credit card. And I know that sounds really scary, and you'll get like a £200 limit on it. Don't spend it. Keep it in your car, or keep it in your bag, or keep it somewhere that you won't use it very often. And what I did is I put petrol on it. So I put £40 a month petrol on my credit card, and I pay it off standing direct debit, where I pay my credit card off every single month. And that built up my credit score. So then when I had to go to my mortgage advisor and I said I'd found a property, can you get me a mortgage? And he was like, well, we'll have to look at your credit score first. And luckily it was spotless. So you will not, that is one of the worst things that could possibly happen to you, is if you find a house and you go to a mortgage advisor and you try and get a property, and then they turn around and they say no because your credit score is too bad. Or if you haven't got a credit score, that is just as bad as having a bad credit score. So things that count towards a credit score is a phone bill. Do never ever ever miss a payment on a credit card, because you will get a huge red flag on that month, and that will stay on there for 6 years, 3 years. I don't know, I'll double check that for you and I'll leave a little thing by here. But never ever ever miss a payment on some sort of finance or credit, because you need that. That will make or break you or your house. I think that's all I really needed to talk about in this first video. So to summarise, start now with your credit score. Get a credit card, put monthly payments on there, nothing more than £40 if you can help it. Literally just keep it to a minimum, pay it off every single time. Start saving every single month how much, it doesn't matter how much you can afford, even if it's £100 a month. You'll be so grateful in a few years' time that you started today. Like, you have no excuse. Start today, start saving. Put the money somewhere where you cannot touch it. This is my biggest thing, because you will be saving for the rest of your life if you have access to that bank account. It's really not worth it. Like, you don't need that money, so just transfer it out. Don't look at it, forget about it if you can, and just dip into it if you need it, e.g. like my car. Start getting excited about it, because it is a really exciting, it's a very, very stress. You need to stay motivated. Get a Pinterest board. You know that I'm a slag for a vision board. You need to go on Pinterest. You need to start making vision boards of your home. You need to start making vision boards of what kind of style you like, what home decor, because it is an exciting time. Now, for the last part of this video, I did do a Q&A on Instagram of what did you guys want to know. I think I've answered most of it in this video, but I will be reading out some questions now. Okay, so I've just got a handful of questions to answer from you guys from Instagram. I had a lot of the same questions, like how did you save, but I've obviously gone over that in the video, and you should know. So one of the first questions I had was, how did you afford it and how did you afford bills and etc. So I will do another video on bills alone if anyone is interested in that. It seems like quite a boring video, but if any of you have just bought your first house or you're close enough to buying your first house, this is stuff you need to know. So I think it'll be an educational video. So obviously I just worked at a coffee shop and I was only earning like £1,000 a month. Like, it obviously differed. Sometimes I'd get more, sometimes I'd get less. But for those 3 years I was earning like £1,000 a month. So when I moved out, when I finally moved out, all my bills came to about £700, maybe £600. Like, yeah, let's say £600. So it wasn't that bad, and that's everything included. If you were just renting, you just have to pay £600 rent and then your bills on top of that. But everything in my house, like that, to rent my house cost £600, which I think is an absolute bargain. So then I'd have like £400 for the month. But by then I'd already transferred most of my money to my mum, so I knew how to live off that much money, if that makes sense. One of the other questions I got was, how long did it take? I'm assuming how long did it take to buy the property, and obviously, like I said, this took 5 months. The flat took 5 months, maybe even 6 months. It was ages. Like, stuff just kept coming back and there was problems with it. It was a nightmare. But this house, we had a really, really good solicitor for this house, and I was in within 3 months, which is really rare, but it literally just flew by. Also, when you're buying a house as well, you've got to look at if they're in a chain. So if that person living in the house has to buy a new house after you've bought their house, obviously that's going to add a lot of time onto you moving in. So preferably if you can get a house where no one's living in there, or they can move out straight away because they've already bought a property or they've got somewhere else to live, that would be ideal. So one of my angels was asking about schemes. I know you can do savings schemes, government schemes. I'm not that educated on those, so I don't think I'm the best person to talk about them. But I would personally just do it by yourself, because there's always terms and conditions with those, and you really need to be educated on it. So if you can't save up for a 10% deposit or whatever, I would definitely do your research into the government schemes and stuff like that. But I do know that you can get a 5% deposit, and I'm sure after the virus is gone, the 5% deposits will be coming back, which will just be incredible, because you'd only have to save up like a few grand, if that makes sense. So definitely do the 5% deposit if you can, but I would always recommend aiming for a 10% deposit just in case they don't come back or something happens. And for my final question, how much was the redecorating? Was the redecorating really expensive? How much was it? So redecorating isn't an issue for me at all, because my style is very simple, very white, very boring, most would say, which I'm very grateful for. I know you can get very fancy houses and but for the minute I am happy with a lick of white paint and some secondhand furniture painted white. So that's literally what I did. Most of the stuff in my house is gifted to me or was bought from a charity shop, or my nan moved into a care home, so she had loads of furniture going, and I literally just painted every single thing white that I had, like bedside tables for my bedroom. I painted like my coffee table white, telly stand white, everything I just painted in white paint, and it all just kind of comes together. So my house now is like white and grey, very basic, very boring, but it looks nice for a cheap price, if that makes sense. So you can buy a tin of paint. I'd say it costs like under £100 for me to decorate the flat. When I moved into my flat, actually, I had 2 sofas, a fridge, freezer, washing machine, and a few other things like some wardrobes and stuff as well, and they cost me, the girl who sold the house gave all that to me for £600, so I was very lucky there. So I got all the sofas and stuff. But you find when you buy a property, everyone comes together, everyone wants to give you things. You can go on Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree, everywhere's doing free stuff, and you've literally just got to keep an eye out and paint some stuff white or grey, whatever colour you like, and it will all come together. So don't worry about redecorating, that is the least of your worries. As soon as you're in, and if you think you're going to be moving into a perfect home straight away, then you're very lucky. But most of the time you will have a bit of decorating to do, and there's nothing a bit of white paint can't fix, you know. So that is it for this video, my little angels. I hope you're having the best day. I hope this video was informative. If you have any questions, like I said, please leave them down below. I'll potentially do a part 2, or I'll just do another video on bills and what to expect once you actually move into your property. But I hope you learned something. I hope you feel motivated to get your own place. Know that it's not impossible. Anyone can do it, and it's better that you're starting young when you don't have that many outgoings than trying to save when you're 30 with 2 kids. Do it now, do the hard work now, because it'll pay off. So any questions, leave the comments down below. If you want a round 2, let me know. I love you so much. Thank you for watching till the end. Again, you know you're my favourite if you stay until the end. But I hope you're having the best day. I love you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!